All right, let's dive into one of the wildest, most brilliant novels ever written, Virginia Woolf's Orlando. I know, it's almost 100 years old, but trust me, this book holds an incredibly modern secret about who you are.
I mean, just think about that for a second. What if you lived for 4 centuries, saw history completely change around you, and then boom, one day you wake up and your gender is different? It would change everything about how the world sees you and maybe how you see yourself.
Well, that exact question is what Virginia Woolf decided to explore back in 1928. Her answer was this character, Orlando. And the book isn't just some fantasy story. It's a kind of thought experiment, a mock biography, that uses this totally wild idea to get at something incredibly true about all of us.
So, where does a story like this even begin? Let's get into it. The man, the myth, the beginning. Orlando's journey kicks off firmly on what we might call the blue side of the spectrum. He starts as a man, an aristocrat, in a world completely defined by masculine rules.
So picture this. It's the 1500s, and Orlando is this dashing young nobleman hanging out in Queen Elizabeth's court. He's a poet, he's a lover, the whole shebang. But after a really brutal heartbreak, he does what any sensible person would do and flees to Constantinople to become an ambassador. And that's where things get weird. He falls into a mysterious, super deep sleep that lasts for days.
And when Orlando finally wakes up, everything has changed. This is it, the great transformation. This is the exact moment the entire book and all of its radical ideas pivots on.
Just like that, Orlando wakes up and is now a woman. There's no magic spell, no big explanation. Woolf just states it as a fact. And you know why? Because the physical change, that's actually not the part she's interested in. This is the genius part. The real change, the one that matters, doesn't happen to Orlando's body. It happens in the dressing room. When Orlando leaves behind her comfortable Turkish clothes and has to squeeze into the ridiculously restrictive English fashion of the 18th century, her entire world shifts.
And I mean, just look at this stuff. Woolf basically calls it a cage made of fabric. The silk dress, it's beautiful, sure, but it's also heavy and plaguey. Those giant hoops under the skirt, forget about running or moving freely. And the corset, it literally takes an hour to lace up and restricts her breathing. All of a sudden, she can't do things she used to take for granted. Fabric has turned her into a lady.
And Woolf spells it out for us right here. Clothes aren't just vain trifles. They're powerful. They change how we experience the world, and just as important, how the world experiences us. They're basically a stand-in for all the social rules that try to force us into these neat little pink or blue boxes.
So you're probably wondering, how on earth did Woolf pull this off? How did she make a 400-year-long gender-bending story feel so real? Well, to do it, she had to invent a whole new way of writing about a person's life.
It was part of this movement called the New Biography. See, Woolf and her writer friends were just so tired of those dusty, boring biographies. You know the kind, right? Just a long list of dates and accomplishments. They wanted to capture the living, breathing, messy truth of a person.
And Woolf had this amazing metaphor for it. She said traditional biographies were like granite, hard, cold, unchangeable facts. But she argued that a person's real self, their personality, was more like a rainbow, always shifting, beautiful, and impossible to totally pin down. Orlando is her attempt to write the biography of a rainbow. Okay, so if you're going to write a rainbow, what kind of pen do you use? For Woolf, the tool was a revolutionary new technique that drops you right inside a character's head. It's called stream of consciousness.
What this technique does is let all of Orlando's selves exist at the same time. That young nobleman from the 16th century, he's still in there, thinking his thoughts, right alongside the 20th century woman driving a car. It makes you realize that our identity isn't just who we are in this single moment. It's this flowing river of all our past experiences and selves, all mixed together.
So all of this, the gender swap, the 400-year lifespan, the stream of consciousness, it's all building towards one massive, truly groundbreaking idea about gender itself. It's about going beyond pink and blue.
Get this, almost a century ago, Virginia Woolf was out here arguing that the huge differences we're taught to see between men and women aren't actually innate. They aren't wired into our biology. They're taught. They're the result of the social clothes we're forced to wear from the day we're born.
She basically said society gives us one of 2 scripts. The male script is all about ego, going out and conquering the world. The female script, as she famously put it, was to be a looking glass,
to do nothing but reflect the man back at twice his real size, which of course means you have to shrink yourself down.
But here's the thing. Woolf wasn't saying we should pick the pink script over the blue one. Her solution was way more radical. She said we should throw out the scripts entirely. Her ideal was something she called the androgynous mind.
So what is an androgynous mind? Well, it's a mind that's whole. It brings together the granite and the rainbow. It uses all parts of itself without worrying about whether they're supposedly masculine or feminine. It's a mind that is open, creative, and above all, free from the tiny boxes of gender roles.
And that right there is the huge secret of Orlando. The book isn't really about a man becoming a woman. It's about a person breaking free from gender altogether. It's a journey toward becoming a complete human being, one who understands that our truest self contains all sorts of different things at once.
Which kind of leaves us with one last big question. Woolf used clothes as a metaphor for all the roles and expectations society puts on us. So if you could take off all of those layers, all the labels, all the scripts, all the expectations, what's left underneath? Who would you really be?